Hello guys, welcome back. My name is Talia. I'm an artist and interior stylist in LA, and I help people affordably curate more beautiful and functional homes with an emphasis on those of us who are blessed to live in small spaces. One of the things that I hope to do on this channel is not just share with you guys tips and products that work for me in my home, but also concepts and strategies and ways of thinking that you can apply in your space, regardless of whether you have a completely different interior style than me, if you've got more space or less space. Today I want to talk about a really simple concept that I use to kind of help curate my space and make sure that it flows well and that I'm kind of driving your eye to the places that I want you to see in my home. So today we're going to talk about styling by vantage point. And you're probably already familiar with the concept of this. It's why people want to create a really impactful entryway, or why people are concerned about their curb appeal, right? The vantage point of a person standing in your entryway, looking into your house for the first time, or standing on the street, coming upon your house and taking in the landscape and the exterior and what your blinds look like through the windows. Those are both really important vantages that people work hard to style for. You're trying to create the best possible impact that you can from that vantage point and that line of sight. So that idea doesn't have to stop at your entryway, right? You can use that concept to create a really cohesive interior space. And especially if you live in a small home, sometimes, certain vantage points, certain lines of sight in your home contain the entire length of your space. As the late great Deanna Vreeland, editor of Vogue magazine, once said, "The eye has to travel." And when you're styling your space based on a vantage point, based on a specific line of sight, you're helping someone's eye. You're creating the itinerary that their eye is going to take in your home. So today I'm going to show you the vantage points that I'm styling for in my home. I'm going to walk you through the sort of things that I look for when I'm thinking of using this technique to style my space, and show you the changes that I've made based on these rules. Hopefully this is interesting and helpful to you guys. I would love to know your thoughts in the comments. Like it if you like it, and without further ado, let's get started. So step one is you're gonna consider the vantage points that you're going to be styling for. And they don't have to be the most obvious ones. I, for example, don't really have a proper entryway, so I'm not really concerned about creating the biggest visual impact when someone is immediately coming in my home at an entryway. Choosing a specific vantage point to play up compared to another one can be really helpful if you're trying to hide something in your house, maybe an architectural thing that you can't get rid of. If you have something really impactful and bold on the other side of the room, that's more likely going to draw someone's eye in that direction. And so you can kind of play with this technique to play up certain areas of your home, play down certain areas of your home. So let me show you what I'm working with in my space. If we start at the front door and look up, directly in front is my living area, and off to this side, I kind of call the plants a little bit of a visual spectacle. I know that someone is going to eventually look back over here. So when someone is coming into my door, the vantage point that I'm styling towards is not this directly in front. I'm trying to drive someone's eye up this way. So vantage point number one is standing with your back to my door, looking slightly left over to the bedroom space. So this line of sight right here. The second line of sight is this one. So once you are fully turned all the way into the apartment, this line of sight, this vantage point is going to be one of the main ones, because this is going to be you looking to the other end of the apartment. So I'm still at my front door and I'm looking toward the bathroom, which is the end of the apartment. So vantage point number 3 is walking into the office, and it's this vantage point. It's the first peek out of the right corner of your eye when you're walking past the kitchen toward the bathroom. The fourth and final vantage point that I am styling for in my apartment is this. This is leaving the bathroom now, facing the opposite direction of your vantage point 2 when you first come into the apartment. So after you identify the lines of sight that you're going to be focusing on, step 2 is to consider what can be changed to improve the visual impact of that line of sight. Do you have clutter that needs to be hidden? Is the space missing a piece of art or a plant or something to tie it all together? Is there something in this space, something in that line of sight that sticks out like a sore thumb? If your line of sight that you're styling for spans multiple living spaces, do the spaces flow? Does it look like all of these spaces are in the same house, or is it kind of just a jumbled convenience of things next to each other? Let me show you the changes that I am considering when I'm looking at the different lines of sight in my house that can be improved upon. What's going on in this line of sight? Obviously, it's Christmas time, so I've got my little mini tree set up. I had considered putting the tree elsewhere, particularly on top of the dresser right here, but because this is the first line of sight I'm really trying to drive people's vision to, I knew that I wanted to have anything kind of seasonal and decorative in that area. So I moved the dumb cane that I usually have there out of the way. The dumb cane's gonna die anyway. Next thing I'm looking at is my storage space underneath the bed. So right now you can kind of see that I have something underneath the bed that is a plastic container that just has a bunch of my tools that I access commonly. I don't want you to be able to see that when you first walk into my house. I want you to know that there's storage being utilized underneath the bed, so that is definitely going to be something that's moved. Also, this plant, this is Pete. He's my golden pothos. He's one of my oldest plants. And I put him there because I have nowhere else for him to go. I don't like him there. I think he breaks up the space in a weird way, and I haven't really figured out what I want to do with the top of the calyx, but I know that I don't want that plant there. When you're looking beyond that, at the back wall, this piece of art is sentimental to me. It is the first piece of art that I actually created the canvas for, and I like the print, but it's obviously too dark for the space when you are considering this is what else is going on here. So, starting with this vantage point, I know that I like having something big and tall on the wall in that area. Again, just like with the gray on the wall here, I like having something that draws the eye up, but that black and white bit doesn't fit in with the general scheme of the room. So we're starting with styling per this vantage point, but the overall goal is to get this vantage point to fit in with the style of the room, or to have the style of the room not completely clash once you're looking at it as a whole and not from this vantage point. So I have a lot of stuff going on. I have a lot of knickknacks. I got a lot of art on the wall, and so I really want this line of sight to be relatively clean. Everything on this table here is contained within the gold tray. The lamp is very simple. I decided to go with the lamp without a shade. I feel like this just takes up less visual space. Same thing with those stools over there. I like that you can see through them to the wall. When you're looking through into the office, I purposely put a black and white print on that wall in the office to kind of carry the black and white themes from the Prada Martha print. And then into the bathroom, which is really bright because I have a sheer curtain to let extra sun into the space. So what are some changes to make with this vantage space? Well, one thing is I really like a kind of clean and simple look. So this bouquet that I have here is a little big and bulky for the dresser top. I want for people to be able to see from the door, from that line of sight and vantage point, that I have very minimal items of decor on display on the dresser. I also purposely bought a really cool blue office chair for this space, and even though I like using that throw to keep me warm when I'm working on my computer, leaving it on the back of the chair completely covers the cool blue chair. Lastly, when I'm looking into the bathroom, that red shelf on the wall just completely stands out, not a good way. Looking at it with this line of sight in mind, the red just stands out way too much. I'm going to have to change it, paint it either white or black, I still haven't decided. And last but not least, in this vantage point, you can see in real life, but you can't make it out because it's too backlit in the camera, that there are plants on the windowsill in the bathroom, and it just kind of looks not neat. You know, I do like there are plants in the bathroom. Obviously you can tell that plants are a theme, but the plants on the shelf in the bathroom just seem really out of place. I'll get close for you to see them. So from the line of sight from the door, you can see them looking straight through the apartment. So those will be moved. Really, like, this is probably my favorite vantage point because I love this beautiful pop of green. It took me a long time to figure out which color I wanted to paint the kitchen, but I knew I wanted to take advantage of this being the only space that you couldn't see immediately when walking into the apartment, so I knew I wanted to have some kind of pop of color here. I kind of call this my trifecta here, the green wall, that yellow cushion, and then I usually have a curly willow in a vase next to the stove. For the Christmas season, I got a curly willow covered in baked snow, but I really like the way that looks, and this is what I'm trying to draw your eye to, kind of like the drama of the curly willow, the bright yellow cushion, and this deep, amazing, really rich green. It's really cool out of the corner of your eye. It's like a statement. So, what can I fix about this space? So I used to keep my fire extinguisher right in the corner next to the stove. You could see it in this line of sight. I also probably don't think, I mean, if the stove explodes, you probably don't want the fire extinguisher right next to the stove, right? That doesn't make sense. So I just moved it out of the way. I also put that faux marble contact paper on the side of the stove. You can tell the stove is like from 1800 and the side of it was this really weird, like, oil covered yellow contact. I don't know. It looks a little neater with the marble contact paper on it. Could have done a better job getting it on there straight, but you know, it is what it is. On top of the refrigerator, I have cereal boxes and stuff. It's really kind of the only space for me to store larger things like that. That's kind of easy to grab, but I don't like the way they look when you're kind of walking by. I don't want people to be focused on junk or anything on top of the refrigerator. I also don't like how the Post-its on that board on the side of the refrigerator look. And that pink basket on top of the washing machine, even though you can kind of less see that as you're walking by, you can still see it, and it's just way too bright. It's white appliances, white, 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 hot pink. This is the only time that I'm actually really concerned about the view of the plants. I really like them from this view, from the distance, so I always keep my monstera there at the end. I just think it looks so regal and majestic, kind of sprawling out there. It's just very well framed, I think, in front of the window. It's also the big reason why I put this mirror behind the door. This was something I did a while ago, but I really like the way it looks having a reflective surface that's looking back at you when you're at the furthest end of my apartment. A lot of the things that kind of counted toward what I'm looking for in vantage point 2 count in this vantage point. So again, I like to look past a clear, clutter-free dresser top, very minimalist. I like to be able to see through the flower vase that's on the end of the dresser toward the bar. So again, that clear vase is preferred to something that's bulkier. Shades are always drawn. That's for the plants and for aesthetics, to let some sun in. And because we've kind of already organized for the space coming the opposite way, this kind of works going the opposite way as well. So now step 3 is making those changes. Now this can mean getting rid of things, purchasing things, moving things. If you're living in a small space like me and you have decided that a certain line of sight is going to be aided by moving things out of it, you kind of have to figure out, well, what am I going to do with those things? Is it going to be stored elsewhere? Is it going to be displayed elsewhere? There might be a little bit of finagling that you can do. And again, I've talked about this before. When you're in a small space, there are trade-offs to be made. So sometimes you can't get exactly what you're looking for when you're trying to create the impact that you want in a line of sight just because you can't move things. But this kind of way of thinking is definitely going to get you started creating a more cohesive space. So here are the things that I've changed. This is what my lines of sight look like after. Okay, let's take a look at what things look like now. From vantage point number 1, we've got the pothos moved off of the shelf here, and from underneath, you can't see anything peeking from underneath the bed, although you can see the cord from the Christmas tree. It's not permanent, and you know, I'm fine with people seeing the magic behind the Christmas tree being lit up. The most drastic change, however, is this piece of art that's on the wall back there. So this is the main thing that I wanted to draw people's vision up towards. And I just replaced the piece that was behind the bed here, and I put it over here. And that's because I actually figured out that there is a 5th unofficial vantage point that I'm interested in, and it's this one right here. And it's unofficial because it's my vantage point. Mainly I'm concerned with what I see looking into the mirror here, but vantage point number 5, unofficial vantage point number 5, is looking into this mirror. And so you can see everything in the bedroom and half of the kitchen behind me. And when taking this whole space into account, I didn't want to put another piece of art on the wall here when I knew I wanted a piece of art on the wall there. So, having moved this headboard piece from behind the bed, and it's no longer a headboard, I decided to actually just make a headboard out of literally fabric and some spare wood and some stuff that I got from the 99-cent store. I'll have a little short DIY video coming up for that, and I'm kind of just realizing now that it's a little crooked. I measured, but I think it might be a little bit lower on this side. But this was kind of my workaround because I didn't want to put another piece of art behind the bed. I've already got my attention whore piece there, and from this vantage point, I think this is the perfect fit. It's still drawing your eye up. It's still attention grabbing, but it fits in so much better with this space. And now with the headboard for my unofficial 5th vantage point, I'm very happy with the way that looks. Turning into point number 2, I've got a new bouquet of flowers, and this is just something that I would more we have on the dresser here. You can see through to the other side of the dresser with all my little knickknacks. It's a lot cleaner. I also like having kind of like a taller arrangement here as well, so that works. And then continuing your view through to the bathroom, I've removed the pink throw off the back of this chair. I just have it now. I have it now here, handy in my little storage container if I ever want to get it if I'm sitting here. But again, I love the view so much more with just that pop of blue from the chair instead of the pink from the throw. And then, again, you can't see because it's bright in the bathroom, but I've also taken everything off of the windowsill. So now that's nice and clean. The only thing I have back there now is a bottle of distilled water for my fern. And then also I have painted or spray painted this little shelf dark blue. And I've put some gold foil on it, which I think I'm gonna put some more gold foil on the edges here. You can't really tell from a distance from this like vantage point too, but what you can tell is that it's no longer red. So if I take a step back, this vantage point, you're no longer seeing that like sharp bit of red sticking out. The blue, and even with the gold foil, it's not as obvious and obnoxious as it was with the red. So there is the fix there. So now here is the vantage point, this line of sight now. A lot cleaner without the post-its and stuff on the side of the fridge, nothing on top of the fridge, nothing on top of the washing machine. So obviously this is going to be some challenge for me to figure out where to put those things. Maybe to be the sort of thing where you only have to move them where you have company coming over. But in general, I do like the look of a clean space without that much clutter, or I call them without useful items. I don't like having a lot of useful items on show. So I think this look works a lot better for me. And I'm gonna have to find something to permanently do with the basket and the cereal boxes, because this is the line of sight that I want to create when people walk by. Just clean, crisp, clutter-free. Finally, vantage point number 4. This is just the opposite view that we were looking at before. Nothing really has changed here, except now I know to keep a kind of cuter, more decorative folder or something in the front here, so that it's not an ugly black folder that's greeting people on the way out. I also want to make sure that I'm dressing this top shelf for the holidays. So I got a little 99-cent store Christmas tree there to match the general Christmas vibes. And then a lot of the cleanup that I did for vantage point number 2, coming the opposite way, works going back this way. Mainly the removal of the golden pothos on top of the Kallax bookshelf and the changing of the flowers on the dresser so that it's just a much cleaner look to the other side of the room. And again, this is the vantage point that I'm concerned about people taking a view of the plants at a distance. So I've rotated my beautiful monstera, and you can see her for all her glory. The leaves just look a lot more dramatic and pronounced from this direction with the plant turned this way. So that's something also that I'll remember when I have people come over, to make sure that I have the plants oriented so that people can enjoy them from this vantage point, because that's what I'm most concerned about. And then again, like I said, unofficial vantage point number 5, which is really for me to be able to enjoy my bedroom with my brand new DIY headboard, and into the kitchen where I have temporarily moved my golden pothos. I don't really know what I'm actually going to do with it. if it doesn't live up on top of a Kallax. But that's what I've decided after filming this video. I'm gonna take my own advice. So might be putting him in a corner somewhere. They can do well with lower light, but that's a video for another day. So that's it, a really simple technique, a way of thinking that I hope helps you kind of get started on if you have changes that you want to make with your home. If you're trying to improve the way it looks, hopefully this is somewhere that you can start in thinking about how to pull your space all together in a way that works better for you. I think this is a really simple concept to help you get started creating a more cohesive space. It can kind of be overwhelming to think about how to make a space look nice in its entirety, but if you're kind of focusing your money, your time, your intention, and your improvements on specific lines of sight, hopefully everything will intersect and you'll have a space that works together. And so that's it, quick video. I hope this concept was interesting or useful to you. If you have any questions or comments, please do leave them down below. And I hope you join me next week when we're going to be talking about 99-cent store Christmas decorations. 2020 has been a rough year and I want a little holiday cheer, but I don't want to pay a lot of money for it. So I'm going to show you all of my various trees and Christmas sundries that I decorated with things exclusively from the dollar store. Little ho ho ho, little Christmas spirit. I hope you guys are having a great one. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, bye.